The scorching sun cast long shadows over the Canaanite desert. Joseph was lowered into a dry cistern by his jealous brothers. The favorite son was abandoned in darkness. This betrayal would lead to an extraordinary story of forgiveness. They hated him for his ornate coat and his dreams in which they bowed to him. The brothers saw an opportunity to be rid of the dreamer once and for all. 20 pieces of silver sealed the transaction with Midianite traders. Joseph was taken to Egypt, while his brothers devised a cruel deception for their father Jacob. The blood-stained coat was presented to Jacob, who tore his clothes in grief. The family mourned Joseph as dead while he began his journey of trials in a foreign land. But in Egypt, Joseph rose from slavery to become the second most powerful man in the land, all because he trusted in God's unseen hand through every trial. In Egypt, Joseph was sold to Potiphar. His diligence and integrity caused him to rise in the household until a false accusation sent him to the royal prison. Even in prison, Joseph interpreted dreams for 2 of Pharaoh's servants. His predictions came true, but he remained forgotten for 2 more years until Pharaoh himself needed answers. Pharaoh's dreams of feast and famine troubled him deeply. Joseph was summoned from the dungeon. With God's wisdom, he foretold 7 years of plenty, followed by 7 of scarcity. Rewarded with the position of vizier, Joseph prepared Egypt for the coming famine by storing massive amounts of grain. His life of slavery and imprisonment had prepared him for this role. When the famine reached Canaan, Jacob dispatched his sons to Egypt to purchase food. They stood before the powerful Egyptian official and bowed low without realizing it was Joseph. Joseph recognized his brothers immediately. Memories flooded back, but he concealed his identity and spoke to them through an interpreter. He accused them of being spies to test their hearts. To prove they were honest, he demanded they bring their youngest brother Benjamin from home. As security, he bound Simeon before their eyes and sent them back with grain and their money. Upon returning to Canaan, the brothers recounted their harrowing encounter to Jacob. The old patriarch was reluctant to risk Benjamin, but the famine pressed them to return to Egypt. Judah promised to protect Benjamin with his own life. The brothers returned with the young man and gifts for the governor. Joseph was deeply moved at the sight of his brother. He hosted a banquet for them all. During the meal, he arranged for Benjamin to receive special portions. His emotions nearly overcame him, and he had to leave the room to weep. The ultimate test came when Joseph instructed his steward to hide a silver cup in Benjamin's sack. The brothers were stopped on their way home, and the cup was discovered. They returned in despair. Judah stepped forward and made an impassioned plea, offering to take Benjamin's punishment himself so their father would not die of grief. This selfless act was the final proof Joseph needed. He could contain himself no longer. Ordering the Egyptians to leave the room, he revealed his true identity with tears. "I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Egypt," he said. "Do not be afraid. God sent me before you to preserve life during this famine." He fell upon Benjamin's neck and wept. He kissed all his brothers, and they talked together. Then he sent them to bring their father and all their families to Egypt. Jacob was overjoyed to learn Joseph was alive. The entire clan moved to Egypt, where Joseph provided for them in the land of Goshen. The family was restored. After Jacob's death, the brothers feared Joseph would seek revenge. They threw themselves at his feet, begging for mercy. Joseph responded with words of radical forgiveness. "You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good. I will provide for you and your little ones." In this way, he comforted them and spoke kindly. Joseph's choice to forgive rather than retaliate broke the cycle of bitterness. It allowed God's plan to unfold for the nation that would become Israel. This story shows us that forgiveness is not forgetting the pain, but releasing it into God's hands. Joseph saw the bigger picture beyond his suffering. Joseph's journey from the pit to the palace teaches that no circumstance is beyond redemption. His heart remained open to reconciliation despite years of injustice. In the warm light of the Egyptian court, the brothers stood reconciled. What was meant for evil had become the salvation of many. We are reminded that forgiveness is a choice empowered by seeing God's sovereign hand in our stories. It brings freedom to both the forgiver and the forgiven. If Joseph's story has touched you today, Reflect on areas in your life where radical forgiveness could bring healing. The power that worked then is still available now. Thank you for watching this episode of Sacred Chronicles HQ. If you value these thoughtful explorations of Scripture, consider subscribing. Join us as we uncover more powerful moments from the Bible. Hit the bell icon so you don't miss future releases. Your support allows us to keep sharing these timeless stories with cinematic reverence. Share this video with someone who needs to hear about the power of forgiveness.